We've all seen Christmas traditions on land. Trees, lights, presents, family dinners. But have you ever heard about the Christmas that took to the skies? During World War II, in the midst of one of the darkest times in history, pilots and ground crews did something completely unexpected. They painted Santa Claus, snowflakes, reindeer, and holiday messages on massive, powerful aircraft. Their goal wasn't to celebrate war, but to give hope to the brave men who were thousands of miles from home. Today, you'll hear the incredible and mostly forgotten story of the Santa Claus bombers, a chapter of World War II where the spirit of Christmas flew right through the clouds. For the pilots and air crews of World War II, the holidays didn't mean time off. There were no Christmas breaks, no big family dinners, no sitting by a cozy fireplace. Instead, their Christmas was spent sleeping in freezing tents, working on massive aircraft on icy airfields, and flying long, grueling missions through dangerous skies. Their holiday meals were often just powdered eggs and coffee. The warmth of home felt like a distant memory. Many veterans later said that December was the hardest month of all. The brutal cold, the short, dark days, and the constant threat of missions took a heavy toll. Morale across the air bases began to drop. But then, something small, yet remarkable, started to change. It all began with one American crew chief in 1943. He saw how weary and homesick his men were, and he had an idea. He wanted to give them a surprise, a small spark of home, even if just for a moment. So he grabbed some leftover paint, found a ladder, and climbed up the side of their B-24 bomber. He worked for hours in the cold. The next morning, when the flight crew walked out onto the airfield, they stopped in their tracks and just stared. Painted right across the nose of their warplane was a cheerful, red-coated Santa Claus, smiling as if he were ready to fly into the winter sky. The men started laughing. A few even had tears in their eyes. The pilot reportedly smiled and said, "Well, looks like Santa's riding with us today." That aircraft became known as the first Santa bomber. And from that one simple act, the idea spread like wildfire. By Christmas Eve of 1944, American air bases across England, Italy, and the Pacific were filled with aircraft, decorated with holiday cheer. It was a sight to behold. Pilots and crews added all sorts of festive art to their planes. Santa hats on existing nose art characters, candy canes painted on the fuselage, and smiling snowmen on the tail fins. There were scenes of flying reindeer, beautiful paintings of the northern lights, and handwritten messages like, "Merry Christmas from the skies." These weren't done by professional artists. They were painted by mechanics, radio operators, gunners, and the pilots themselves. Sometimes, men would decorate the planes secretly at night, just to surprise the morning crew. Other times, entire squadrons would team up, turning the cold, harsh airfield into a sort of wartime Christmas festival. One pilot later recalled, "It felt like Christmas had come to the flight line, even if we couldn't go home." But these incredible decorations weren't just for fun. They held a deep, emotional meaning for the crews. They were a powerful reminder of everything they were fighting for: home, family, holiday traditions, warmth, and a normal life beyond the constant stress of war. Many airmen carried small, worn-out Christmas cards inside their flight jackets. Some even tied tiny bells to their gear for good luck. A pilot from Texas later explained, "Seeing Santa on the nose of the aircraft gave us courage. It didn't replace the fear, but it made the day feel human again." Another young airman wrote in his journal, "A Christmas tree painted on a bomber is not much, but when you're this far from home, it's enough to remember who you are." It was a small act of defiance against the bleakness of their reality. The Santa bombers became a symbol of something truly powerful, that even in the hardest and darkest of times, human beings will always find a way to bring light and hope into the world. These paintings didn't change the course of the war. They didn't alter history, but they absolutely transformed the hearts of the men who saw them, flew in them, and worked on them. Today, the photos of these planes serve as a beautiful reminder that even in the coldest winters, and even in the toughest battles, the spirit of generosity and hope can still fly. These planes weren't just machines of war. For a brief time, they were flying messages of hope. So the next time you see a Christmas decoration, remember that there were once massive aircraft soaring through winter skies, with Santa Claus painted on their nose, carrying courage, warmth, and a piece of home to the men who needed it most. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing for more.